what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are finishing up the pen test in a nutshell, and we're going through the Windows machine first, right? So we did the Linux, we did all of this vulnerability assessment and all of that, and we're going to go through the Windows machine here. Hopefully we'll get through the proof of concept and post engagement, but I doubt it. I will probably just do Windows. So I said we're going to finish it up. We probably won't. I don't know if I'll have time, but we'll try. So let's get into it. First things first, we already know how we did the Linux target. This one's very similar, a little bit different, but the methodology is the same, right? We're going to take over, exploit the machine after we do a little recon, and then we're going to go ahead and escalate our privileges and get the system account or the root account or admin account in this case, and then answer some questions. So really basic methodology and concept. We just have to, and they show it every single time here. But so this is like a good picture if you guys want. It's a good picture to like hang on a wall or something so you understand, and it just becomes second nature. Hey guys, I just want to give you kind of a quick disclaimer. In this video, I talk about how basically like I don't think the flow's good. I think that there's a lot of kind of weird issues and stuff with the box. And I recorded this video yesterday and I've been thinking about it, and to be honest with you, I think I was a little bit hypercritical I put my hand up in accountability for that because there's no right or wrong way to do it, right? I was going off of my way, and that's not always the right way, right? So one thing I want to say is the methodology that they're using is solid. I think their content's good. I'm not saying this for any other reason besides the fact that you got to own up when you're make a mistake, and I think that I went a little bit too critical on them. I think I understood, as I thought more about it, I understood what they were going for. It took me a little while to get there because I didn't agree with it initially. But I just want to give you guys that context because I want you to see that, I'm still going to put the video out the same way. I just want you guys to see that, there are times where, just because I do it XYZ way doesn't make it the best way. And just because they do it this way doesn't make it the best way either. I didn't go through my full methodology either, which I realized. So like I'm criticizing them, but I'm not actually giving the methodology that I would use. Whoops. I say a few things like the fact that if I would have found the credentials the way they did, I wouldn't have done the other steps and stuff, which may or may not be true. It really depends on the pen test itself, and it also depends a lot on the methodology that you're using. I also just want to say that Hack the Box, their content's really good. If you take this box for what it is, which is literally taking an entire pen test in a nutshell, right? It is actually very good because they are showing that this is pen testing in a nutshell, just very boom, 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 methodical. This is as simple as you can make it. And I think that's what they're going for. And so I think initially I was just hypercritical. I want to own that and say, hey, I apologize. Good box. This is the Windows specific one. Good box. But yeah, I just want to get that disclaimer out so that you guys know. I'm not always negative. I try to be honest with everybody, and that's usually what it is. It's more of I want to see everyone improve, so I'm critical of it, just like I want people to be critical of me, so that I can improve where I need. And I think there's times where you just need to say, hey, I was a little bit too critical. I think that it's a good box, and I showed a few different ways than what they did to do some of it, and I think it's a good overall box. So I apologize. Thanks, guys. So I'm not going to do these Nmap scans, I'll tell you that. And the reason I'm not going to do them is because they already did them for you. So there's no reason in us doing them. We would just basically sit here for however long for waiting on nothing. So first things first, you notice every time they do Nmap, they do it with sudo. So that's recommended. I'm not going to dive into why because it's outside the scope of the box, but if you don't run a Nmap as sudo, there's a good chance you're going to miss things, and it's the way Nmap runs actually. If it doesn't run as sudo, there's a good chance you're going to miss some things. So just know, always run it as sudo. And then you can see they do Nmap tac p tac, which is just all ports. Then they do service version and scripts. So they're using the scripting engine to do basic scripts. They're using trying to get the version number, and you notice they're putting the version first. That's because they want to know what's actually on these ports and not have it guess based on a list, which is what this does here. Is it actually tries to use the headers. Then you have the IP here. Okay, and then they have the timing, and then they just say the PN, which if you don't know, the PN just says, hey, act as if it's for sure if it's for sure on, even if it says it's not. That way you can still run the scan. Okay, so here we go. The Nmap scan reveals several open ports. Yes, it does. Right here you can see we have 22, which is SSH, 135 MSRPC, 139 NetBIOS, 445 Microsoft DS. And right off the bat, I get this question a lot. I hear people, I'll do an Nmap scan, and without like looking at the actual what it says is the OS, I'll be like, oh, that's a Windows machine. And people will be like, how would you know that? And it's like, well, if you see like NetBIOS, MSRPC, like this Microsoft, especially, I mean, this one specifically says Windows Server 2019, right? But like, if you start seeing these processes, and yes, they can be on Linux, right? As far as the ports and stuff, Samba and all that, but this is almost always a Microsoft machine. It's pretty simple to see right off the bat. So then you can see they have this random 3000, which is a HTTP server. So that's obviously not normal. So we'll take a look at that. Then you have 3389, which is normal for a Microsoft machine. All right, everything else looks good. So looks like here they've got the 3389 for RDP. They've got they said here it's a Gidia web server. If you don't know, Gidia is basically a self-hosted GitHub. And then they've got SMB. They've got NetBIOS. We talked about that. Okay. All right, everything else looks pretty normal. So let's go ahead and look. So one of the big things is anytime you have a Windows machine, you're going to check the SMB. You don't have to, I guess, theoretically, but the reason you do this is a couple of reasons. One, SMB usually has shares on it that you can access by default, right? Windows has shares on it that you can access by default. So for one, you're at least going to see if there's maybe something there. For two, you're going to see if there's shares that maybe they didn't intend to. People accidentally do this all the time. People share things and then forget to revoke the access. There's all kinds of reasons you might do this. And maybe it's by design, but there might be something in there that will lead you to the next step, right? So like, for instance, if someone put an SMB share, like a script to share with somebody, right? And you open that script, and this is the exact scenario we're going to go through. And you open that script, and there's a username and password in it because someone didn't use secure coding practices, right? That is more realistic to pen testing than things like, hey, I saw a vulnerability on whatever Jira, and so I just went and used Metasploit and took over the machine. Like yes, that happens, but you're more looking for these mistakes that people make. As we know, people are always the weakest link, and that's really what we're looking for here. So that's what we're trying to find. So for this, they're using CrackMap, and you can see they're using the actual, they're using CrackMap XEC, which is execute, right? And okay, I thought this was a link you could click on, but you can research it. It's a pretty nice tool. You can see it can do SMB, SSH, WinRM, LDAP, blah, 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 right? And really it's allowing you to use that protocol and gather information from it that you normally could do anyway, but it would require some more manual processes. So they're allowing you to do that. So it's kind of like if you've ever used SQL Map, very, very similar. All right, so they're going to specify SMB. So you see they just say CrackMap, execute SMB, IP address, right? And you can see the results right here. Say, yeah, there it is, right? And you can see here, SMB version 1, already, okay, thank you. Already something that I would at least annotate. I wouldn't like, it may be nothing, but you want to at least annotate it. Okay, on the one hand, we were able to access the SMB server. So here, they did CrackMap SMB, and they did the user and the password, but they left it blank, right? And then they said, show me the users. That's what that -- users mean. It means like enumerate the users. Now, this dash or this empty username and password just is an anonymous login, right? Or a null login. That is very common. If you've ever used just like regular SMB, like rather than Crackmap or something, you can do this and check to see if you can log in. And if you can, awesome. You can see the results you get here. They got error enumerating domain users, but they did, you can see they did actually connect here. So it shows that, hey, Crackmap's working, but we can't enumerate the users with the current permit or with that null login, which is fine. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, Crackmap SMB, and now we'll say guest user, right? And we'll use this little password, which is nothing, right? So we're just gonna say we're just a guest user, and we want to see what shares are available, right? So this is what you've probably seen in some other CTFs, but not with Crackmap. A lot of times people use like SMB, Samba, whatever tools you want to use on Linux, and they just connect to it and list the shares. And what you're always going to see, not always, but what you're normally going to see is this admin, the C, and the IPC. So if it has a $ after it, not always, so don't say it always, but if it has a $ after it, it's probably a default share, right? Meaning it's already been there. You may have access to it, you may not, right? But you can see here we can list the shares, and there's one called devs. Well, that's a non-default share, meaning someone created it. That's what we're looking for. Yes, the default shares are nice, but if someone created it, that means they create it for a reason. There's a reason it's there, right? And we can actually use that to our advantage if there's a file on there that is needed. So how many TCP ports are open total in the Windows target? Well, we don't even have to do it because right here they did it for us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like 6. Let's check. Nope, not 6. Maybe I miscounted. We got 22, 135, 139, 445, 3000. Did I miss one? Oh, it says snippet. So there's more. It says here it's snip. So there's actually more than that. So we will maybe have to run this. Let me try 7. Let's see if that works. Nope. All right. So there's more. I'm just trying to prevent you guys from having to watch me do the whole filtering or the whole thing. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So I don't know how many more they've got, but we'll go ahead and run it real quick. They have you do it with the fastest speed, so I guess you get to watch the whole thing. So we'll say sudo nmap tech ptech, and then I don't know, that's not the right IP, but svsc. All right, and then I don't know the IP. Let's see if it gave it to us. Here we go. And I messed that up. Okay, and then we'll say afterwards, timing 5. What else was it? All right, and then tech pn. All right, we'll let that run, and we'll just answer this question. And then what's the next one? Was the host name of the Windows target? We should get that one too. What version of the Gidia running on the Windows target? We can get that now because we can copy this, and we know it's on port 3000. So while that's running, we can do this. So we can say HTTP 3000. All right, and here's our version right here, 1.12.4. All right, easy enough. All right, now let's check our terminal. Okay, that's still going. How many shares can you see on the Windows target? Well, there's 4 in the snap or in the screenshot. Okay, it was the name of the non-standard share. It was devs. Okay, so we gathered everything except for the Nmap scans, and that's because the Nmap scan in the screenshot, I just didn't pay attention close enough. It actually has a, it says snip, which means there's more open than that. We just didn't see it. So Let's see if we can see where. Nope, I don't see any where it actually explains it, but that's okay. Where it actually says it. So we'll just wait till this is done, but we'll go ahead and go to initial access and start talking about this. Okay. So once we've gathered this information, we can proceed to the exploitation stage. So keep in mind, this usually takes longer than what they're showing. This whole process takes longer than what they're showing. It's not usually as simple as the Linux one or the Windows one. It's not usually as forthcoming. It's not as like, here, do this, and then you do that, and then it leads you right to the next step. Like a lot of times, there's a little bit more to it than that, which is fine. Okay, so here we've got our scroll up. We got our results. Okay, so that's why they've got a bunch of ports. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so they've got us at 19. So they've got us all over the place. They definitely sniffed out a bunch of it. Okay, so we've got, oh, whoops, we're on the wrong one here. So we've got 19. Should be 19 anyway. Okay, and then what is the host name of the target? Did we get the host name? I didn't even look. Host is up. Yeah. See if we can find the actual host name. Those are TLS certs. Okay, and those are things they found that they didn't know what it was, which is fine. Okay, clock, authentication. Computer name is Win01. Wow, I could have probably just seen that in the screenshots. All right, there we go. And let's go to the next section, the initial access. So we have it, but now we're going to take over using that SMB. So we already did the SMB, some of that SMB enumeration, but we haven't done anything crazy. Now, one thing they're going to show you here is this is actually something that's very common in pen testing, and they kind of explain it, but they just say, like, if you remember, we found credentials on the Linux target. Like that, in my opinion, this is a terrible way to teach this. This is my opinion. The reason I say this is super common that you're going to reuse usernames and passwords. Do not say things like, oh, yeah, I remember that we had. No, this should have been documented. It should have been already part of your process and procedure is I'm going to try this first thing on a machine. Now, when I say first thing, it doesn't have to be SMB, it doesn't have to be whatever, but you're going to see they're going to go through this whole step, right, of all this enumeration and initial access and all this stuff, and you can just RDP into this box using John with the password we already found. You could bypass this entire thing if you needed to and just take over the machine and do what they're going to show you to do. So it's kind of silly they taught it this way, in my opinion, because you don't need to start with SMB and work your. If you have a password that or username and password that works on Windows machines, start doing your stuff. Like you don't need to go through and like. I'm not saying you shouldn't enumerate. You 100% should. What I'm saying is you don't need to go take over SMB because you can just get on the machine. You don't. Why would I log in as John and maybe there are specific reasons like you might want to still identify that hey. I can log in as SMB or whatever, but if you already have the username and password, this is kind of a silly way to say, hey, here's our initial assessment. Now let's try RDP. Oh, wow, we can do RDP. Like, that's silly. Like, I would not be doing that. I might try it real quick, like run this and go, okay, mark that in my notes so that I can tell them that we can log in using SMB, but I wouldn't like keep enumerating because you'll see what I'm talking about. So you can see with SMB, they use CrackMap and they said SMB user John and the password that we already had, right? And they said spider the devs share, right? And then they said look for the pattern, okay? And you can see here, so they started spidering. There's a temp ps1 file, so that's right off the bat going to be interesting. What is it? In the case the credentials worked along, okay, now let's specify the devs share and download the temp file. So now you can see they found that temp file and they got the file temp ps1 and they wrote it to temp ps1. Now when they open it, right, you can see right here they get the username John and the password. Well, then they explain down here, we see the script contains hard-coded credentials. This is not best practice. What an insane way to showcase this. This is true. This happens. It happens quite a bit. But why would I be like, hey, look at this crazy finding. You found the password that you used to find this password, right? You used John's username and password to find John's username and password. I'm not saying that this shouldn't be a finding and that you shouldn't say, hey, just so you know, you can identify these credentials, blah, blah. But in my opinion, this is an amazing opportunity for Hackbox to go, hey, you logged in as John, you pulled the temp ps1 file, and look, they have a hard-coded credentials. Maybe it's Timmy in his password. And now you escalate your privileges or just pivot using Timmy. It's silly to me that they said, hey, let's enumerate SMB as a guest user, right? And then, oh yeah, we forgot you had credentials. Let's try them now. And then, oh look, you found the same credentials that you forgot you had. And then, just wait for it, then they're going to try and remote into it with them. What are we doing here? Like, this is a really bad flow of how you would do pen testing, in my opinion. And it could be the fact that they're trying to showcase that these are the steps you would do to show your proof of concept, to actually demonstrate things, like you're going to report that, hey, I can log in as SMB, I can do this, there's a hard-coded credential. Like, you still should find that stuff. But what I'm saying is you're just doing it kind of all wonky, and like, you're not actually saying, hey, let's first things first, we found this list of usernames and passwords. Let's try them, see if we can get in using those. Oh, we have a machine now. Okay, so we're there. We're on the exploit phase, right? Now let's see what we can gather, right? They have it kind of backwards because you can see they have pillaging there. In my opinion, this initial access, you're already there. You didn't need to do any of it. You didn't need to do anything. Same thing with the information gathering. Yeah, you want to gather some of that information, but as soon as I saw this is a Windows machine and it has RDP and SMB share, I'm going to try and log in as John. If it works, awesome. Let's start enumerating and pillaging and then see if we can pivot to somewhere else. Let's keep going, right? We want to gather as much information as we can. I want to get things like this found for them, but I don't want to do it at the expense of, well, let me find the low-hanging fruit of, hey, did you know that you can log in using SMB and RDP and SSH? Yeah, it's a Windows machine that they have those services on, and it's a directory, or it's a Active Directory linked machine and an Active Directory username and password. Yeah, I think they're aware, right? So you don't need to go through this whole rigmarole to tell them all that. Like, that's silly. So at this point, they found it. They found the hard-coded credentials. Again, I would notify them 100%. I would have those, put that as a finding. But now they're going to try John or Hydra and try an RDP in, right? Again, this is a silly move, in my opinion. Now, hear me out, because I know a lot of you guys are going to. This is where examples. Hack the Box does a really good job of showing really good content, but not explaining it in a way that's realistic or goes to scale. So what I mean by that is they're showing here that they're going to use Hydra, right? Why? Why would I use Hydra in this case? There's no need to use Hydra. Why? Why wouldn't I just try RDPing in? And if it works, awesome, right? The reason they're using Hydra is because in a real scenario, it makes sense to use Hydra, and then it makes sense to use either a password spray or a list of users and their passwords and see how many work, right? Hydra automates the process. I don't need to automate the process for one person, right? It's not automated. It's not any faster. That's my point. Because then what are you going to do after you figure out, hey, it works, right? You can see here, 1 of 1, valid password. Sick. What do you think's the next step? RDP in, right? So why do I do that for one person? You don't. It's silly. I would just try the RDP. Now, if I had 20 users that I found during the enumeration stage, and then I'm like, all right, let me check them all, that's when Hydra comes in. So it's an example of where they're using the correct tooling, but really using the wrong use case for it, or vice versa, right? Using the wrong or the correct use case and the wrong tooling, because they're just adding a bunch of steps, in my opinion. And they're making it seem like this process is much more complex than it is. It's not. You can, if you had a credential at the very beginning of this pen test that you got from a Linux machine and you try it on Windows and it works, sick. Keep going, right? Now you're pivoting into the network, seeing what machines you can take over, use a tool like Bloodhound to evaluate where can I go from here, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is a lot of kind of showcasing more than actual realistic, in my opinion. Now you can see here, this is what I'm talking about. You already have the machine. You can log in right now to the machine, but they're like, hold on, let me check to see if MSF console. Now, here's the counter argument, right? I understand you want to get all that information, all the information to them initially, right? But if I'm just in the initial access phase, I can get them all this information without going through all this rigmarole. Because am I going to go to MSF console and search for Gidia or anything like that? No. Why? I could just do some basic enumeration and be like, hey, just so you know, that version of Gidia is vulnerable. Boom, found it. I don't need to go do the remote code execution to take over the box to figure that. Like, I understand that a pen tester might do that, but imagine taking over the machine and being like, hey, by the way, there's like 5 ways you could take over this machine. You're paying me for my time, so let me spend my time and your money to demonstrate all 5. No. Take over one, list the others, say, here's how we did it. You can do it 5 other ways. I recommend you fix them, right? If you want me to stay here all day long on these machines and do this, sure, I'll do it, but you're going to pay me, right? It's going to be expensive for you. So understand that, right? So you can see here, they used number 9, which is the Windows dropper. Metasploit shows us 3 different exploits. Let's take a look at the second one with the target as Windows dropper. So they used exploit, remote code execution, and they use the Windows dropper, which makes sense. They got information on it. Okay. The description states the vulnerability has been patched in version 1.13.0, which is higher than one we found, right? We know that we're vulnerable to it, so let's use it. So then they use it. They say set lhost, set rhost, set username, set password, right? So they have the username, the password, all that stuff. Now, I will say it might be of value if you couldn't get on the machine, right? If you're like, hey, I do have a username and password, but I can't actually RDP in. Now we're looking at something like this, right? Then they run it and they have an interpreter shell. Okay, sick. Now, look at this. At this point, we have several options for proceeding. Without diving too deeply into additional tools and uses, let's just connect directly to the machine. Think about that. Think about what everything we just did was pointless, right? Now, I'm not saying they're wrong in the fact, again, that you should disclose all that. I'm saying you don't have to go through and do every one of those steps to actually validate it and to say that there's an issue, right? I copied it, didn't work apparently. So what we're going to do is we are going to actually copy, and I don't remember the IP, but we got to change the IP. And the IP is 10.129. All right, there we go. Now get rid of the extra 10 there. All right, do we trust it? Yes, we do. Okay, and just like that, we're already P'd in the machine. So why did we go do a Metasploit exploit of Gidia? Why did we go do the SMB exploitation of it, right? We didn't need to. You can automate almost all of that. Simple, right? The other thing is you can also just go to those shares and say, hey, I used CrackMap. I was able to display these shares. Once we got it on the machine, here's what they entailed. We would have found them, blah, blah, blah. Like you can do this in a better form, in a better fashion is my point. So what is the host name of the file server that you discovered in the PowerShell script? Well, that's actually up here. We don't have to, I think I actually have it down here. Nope, I don't. Okay, so that's right here. We can just go to the PowerShell script and it's file server 01. When was the Gidia get hooks remote code execution vulnerability disclosed? That's in the info right here. When was it disclosed? Go to where they typed info. Right here, 2020 10/7. And for any pen testers out there that know what I'm, or may not understand what I'm saying, because I'm not trying to say that, the big thing I want you guys to take away is I'm not saying that you shouldn't disclose this stuff or you shouldn't look for it. I'm saying they had you going through this, all this ass backwards way where you could enumerate all of that without actually having to do all of that, right? If you're on the machine already, you can gather that information, right? So why not take over the machine, start setting up your, further exploitation, getting your escalation, all that stuff, get to what your goals are, right? Because usually on a pen test, there should be a goal. Get to your goals and then take the time to enumerate the rest. The reason I say that is because you're on a time crunch, right? If I'm spending all this time going, I could do this, took that over. Okay, same machine, let me take it over again, but let me do it a different way. Okay, same machine, let me take it over again, let me do it a different way. I'm not going to get to the other 10,000 machines that you have on your network. So you have to be somewhat understanding and realistic with it. Okay, so here they're saying they're going to check. First of all, we need to determine who we are. So, yep, who am I /priv, which shows us the privileges. And you can see he's got the notify privilege, bypass traverse checking, impersonate a client, and increase a process working list. Okay, so he's got all three. So he's got notify privilege, lets the user bypass directory traversal checks to navigate folders without explicit permission. Okay. Then impersonate allows us to impersonate others after authentication. Pretty important for privilege escalation right there, right? Permits the user to increase the memory available to a process. Okay, that's not really that big a deal. Now we have the who am I groups. This just tells us what groups we exist in. And you can see here we have the everyone, the log readers, RDP users, which makes sense, we're in it. Authenticated users. I don't see anything crazy. Okay. The group membership indicates this might be a regular user with limited privileges. Yep. But we can perform additional checks with the command system info and WMIC, excuse me. System info, okay, didn't work. Access denied. WMIC, didn't work. Access denied. Why is it access denied? Well, let's look. Okay, both commands require admin privileges. So most of you guys have seen this before. You've tried to run something that says you need admin privileges, whatever. But he's a regular user. So when administrators configure servers, they often want to optimize the server to their own needs and comforts. One way to do so, scheduling tasks. So long story short, people schedule tasks to save them time. They don't want to have to run it through, forget about it, any of that stuff. So they schedule tasks, right? It's the same as the cron jobs in Linux, but here they're looking at scheduled tasks. You can see they're running scheduled task query fo list v, right? And we'll talk about it. So you can see if you're looking at the scheduled tasks, we've got just a folder, Microsoft Windows. This is a snippet, so I'm assuming we'll have to probably run that to see the full what they need. And you can see here's the big one, right? This one, host name, the task name is corp backup agent. Anytime there's a backup anything, it's worth checking out. And you can see here's the task that they're running. PowerShell, exe, no profile, execution bypass, file, C program, blah, blah, blah. Now, one thing I'll tell you is this is just comes with experience, but also when you're doing CTFs, think of things like this. The second I saw this as the scheduled task, I knew exactly how we're taking over this machine, because almost exclusively, if they give you a scheduled task like that on a CTF, this script is probably writable, meaning we could probably edit it, and when we do, we'll get access, etc., etc. Oops, didn't mean to click WinPEAS. So, all right. Excuse me. So then they say, let's go ahead and use WinPEAS, which is just the Windows version of LinPEAS, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to actually do this. All right, we'll just do it in here. So I hate that it's like this, but all right, so we'll go File, Open Tab, and we'll make this bigger. Okay, and we'll say make dir. We'll just copy all these. I don't really need to copy that one, but I do need to copy this one. CD win, and then we'll say wget, run that, get WinPEAS. We got WinPEAS, and then we'll just serve it up on a Python simple server. Whoops. Okay, minimize that. Serve it up on a Python simple server, and our IP is 10.10.15.149. Then we'll go to our little RDP session. And I noticed someone said they suck at, someone in the comments said like they wanted to see this because they suck at and then 8,000. They said they sucked at, I can't remember what it was. Is it 8,000? What did I do it on? Oh, 80, my bad. They sucked at PowerShell, and I want to show them that you don't have to be good at PowerShell to do this, right? So there's the WinPEAS. We'll go ahead and download that on our, there we go. So that's in our downloads folder now. All right, perfect. So now we have WinPEAS, and we'll let that run while we talk about it because it's going to take a while. I will tell you guys, if you've ever done a pen test, if you try to run WinPEAS, it's probably going to get busted. I'll just tell you that now. Okay, so let that run. Okay, I didn't want to open it. I wanted to run it, but all right. Run with PowerShell. There we go. Okay, let that run. All right, whatever. Okay, now, so as we run that, you can see this is them doing the same thing I just did, but they didn't go to the website. They just downloaded it, which is what they did here. I thought it was quicker to just go to the website. And you can see they're going to go through all the examples, right, or the results. So the startup application shows that we have privileges to write to the C program data. Well, if you guys remember, where was the script for the task? It was in program data. There was a couple other directories, but yeah. And then they say, well, that's unusual and it's worth noting. Well, yeah, it's worth noting because that's how we're going to take over the machine. So we scroll down a bit and we see the user's information, including his secured identifier. We already know some of the groups because we did the who is and all that stuff, or who am I, excuse me, not who is. Following that, comprehensive system information reveals that the system info command couldn't capture, so we couldn't run system info before because we didn't have permission. Our WinPEAS was able to do it here, and if you look, looks like we're good. It's doing the same thing, so we're actually able to. I wish I could make this bigger. Okay, I can't. Let's see if I can. Okay, I can't make that bigger, so I apologize to you guys if you can't see it. All right, that's all the physical requirements and stuff. So it says now let's create a summary of the key findings. Okay, so the key findings is we have a local access as user John, who is part of the several groups. We already knew that. We found the right privileges, C program data, which is a security concern. Yep. Multiple ports are open. We already knew. So this is all stuff that I'm talking about where I'm saying we're wasting a lot of time. I don't mind WinPEAS at all, but you already have this information. So I understand you want to enumerate inside a little bit, but I would be more worried about how do I escalate those privileges before jotting down all this information, because a lot of this you already have. System details, Okay, the account has notable privileges. Okay, system has one network interface with multiple IP addresses. So this is really important because if you have a something that's dual homed or dual NICed, which means dual network interface cards, there's a lot of capabilities there to pivot around. They located a PowerShell script named backup prep.ps1 in the system that is being ran as an administrator. So right there is probably the script we're going to take over. So let's go look at what was that script called that we found before. Right here. There it is. Backup prep. You notice they said, oh, it can run as administrator. There you go. What's the task name that repeats every 2 minutes? That was, I just had it. That was right here. Corp backup agent. Bingo. What is the SID of the user John? And let's see if they have it in the display because I don't want to scroll through the entire thing. If I can get it. And most of these you don't need to do it yourself because all you're doing is you're going to go scroll through results, right? They're showing you the results and talking about it. What is the exact OS version that WinPEAS delivers? I'm assuming they mean like what is the, yeah. So this is actually one of the few things that's really useful. I say that WinPEAS is a great tool, but I'm just saying like really useful is the, okay, that says it's not accurate. WinPEAS delivers. Does it need the whole thing? That must be it. But you notice it has the build number and everything. This is exactly what patches you have and everything. So this is super useful because there's a lot of machines that, okay, you need the whole thing. There's a lot of machines that may be patched and you're like, oh, they're pretty secure, but they're missing certain patches and stuff. So that will help you a ton. How many hotfixes? 5. And it shows the KB numbers as well, which is really nice. Okay, so let's mark it as complete and move on to the next. Okay, so now we're looking at vulnerability assessment. So you notice once we're in, right, we're enumerating the system, and then we're going to start assessing the vulnerabilities of the system, right? So you can see here, we have the writable C program directory. We don't know what that's going to do yet, but then we have the scheduled task that executes backup prep.ps1 as admin. But guess what? It's in the C program data. So you can see where this is going. When we have write privileges to a specific directory, we may also have read privileges. So what they're saying is you could have write privileges if you needed to write something like, for instance, a backup, right? Where I just need to take the backup. I don't need to go read them, but I could just write, so I can just add to it. And so what they're saying is you want to check if you can read them also, because especially backups, there's a plethora of data in there. So let's go check, right? So let's go find out if that's the case. When we look inside the share, we can see there's several other directories. So what they're actually doing, and I'm showing this purposely, whoever, I can't remember who it was, said they struggled with what was it, PowerShell, right? So I wanted to show, if we go here and we go to program data, right, and I don't remember which one it was it program data or program files? There it is. And there's corp backup. You can just do this directly in RDP. You don't have to, it doesn't matter if you're a terrible PowerShell user. Use what's useful, right? And I'm showing that right now. So then you can see they go into corp backup, okay. And then they say, when we look inside the share, we can see there are several other directories. If we consider the name of the script we found, well, let's look. There's logs and there's scripts. There's the script. There's the logs. Now, you can also view the, where's it at? Funny enough, I'm actually better at the actual, yeah, I can't find it, but you can also just go in here and say scripts, properties, and look at the permissions this way as well. And you can go to security, and you can see we actually have, everyone has full control of it. So you can pretty much do anything you want to it. All right, so the directory corp backup is definitely intriguing and worth delving into. However, even if we don't have privileges to list the contents, we would still have the right privileges. Yes, so we can add something to the end of it, which is what we're going to do, right? Now here they're showing you how to read, write, delete, full, modify. They're showing you the permissions. So if you actually look at iCalcs, which is just going to list the permissions and say that whole thing, everyone has the F permission, which is full control, which I just showed. the other way of doing it, which is just go to properties. So if you're not a PowerShell guru, cool, use what's available to you, right? So now, what is the content of the first line in the health check log? Well, let's just go back, look at the log, open it up. It's just a text document, and the first line is backup prep completed. So we'll just go back here. Backup prep completed. And I don't remember if it was capitals or not, so we'll see. Yep, there you go. All right. So now we're moving right along to Windows privilege escalation. So now we've pretty much set the stage. We know exactly what we need to do. We have access to, I hate that it does that. We have access to take over this script, to edit it, right? Well, if we can edit it and it runs as admin, that means we can change, we can just set up a reverse shell. That's usually what people's mind goes to. One thing that people don't think about is things like this, because a reverse shell might be a little bit loud. They could just do something like this where they, in this case, they actually, and here they're showing you how they like went to the event log. Let's see. Oh, here they're just showing you that, hey, John is not part of the admin users. He's a part of event log readers, remote desktop users, blah, blah. And then they're going to the backup to show the task that's scheduled, right? And then they're going to add this into the backup script, right? Well, here's the script. So we can just actually go in here, say edit. And it says it runs every 2 minutes, so you may have to wait 2 minutes. We'll just go here and we'll say, there you go, add them in there, save it. And now we just wait and it will run, right? And then now when we go type in over here, okay, this thing's still running. All right, it's still running, which is why I didn't, let's just do another PowerShell. This thing doesn't have a lot of RAM, so I'm trying not to overload it, but we'll do another PowerShell, and we'll say, really what we're checking for is how long did it take to actually add, not necessarily how long, but we just want to see, are we the admin yet? And you can see we're not admin yet, so it hasn't ran yet, which is fine. All we did is we added this add local group member, group administrators, and we said, hey, add John, right? For everyone that's wondering what that Win01 John is, that's just the local or the box, right? So if you ever log into a domain, usually the domain's first. Now, everyone that works in a company knows you don't have to do that, but there's times, especially with like RDP and stuff, where you might use the domain, then the user, and that's what they're trying to showcase there. So we're still not, but it can take up to 2 minutes, but you can see local group permissions. We can go here, and I don't know, I think we could actually run this script if I'm being honest. I think it has, let's see what happens. Let's see, it says access denied. Okay, access is denied, which is interesting, but not that big a deal. We might just not have write permissions, but that's all right. So we'll just wait. Give me the other one. Here we go. And we'll just wait and we'll keep chugging along until we get it. It's really hard to see. All right, there we go. And you can see it finally ran. There's administrators. So now as John, we are admins, right? We are the administrators. So what I'm going to do is, now that we're admins, I'm going to stop the WinPEAS. Maybe. Okay, it just closed itself, which is fine. And we'll go like this. And you guys probably can't see it, but we will go to CD downloads. And there's WinPEAS, and we'll say winpeas.ps1. And now we're admins, so now we should have a lot more permissions. And okay, can't be loaded. Okay, so we'll just have to run it the way we did because it's not digitally signed. It needs to bypass the admin check. All right, and we'll let that run. And now the reason I reran it is really because we're going to get a lot better results as an admin than we would have before. Now you can see the local group memberships. There's now another group called administrators. Yeah, so the difference between local admin is I'm only admin on this box. That's why you notice we specified Win01. I'm only admin on this box, and that's what they're saying. So now let's see what we've got. So what does the backup prep PS1 script measure? Well, if you go back to the script and we go to, we'll just close this one. We go back to, where was it? Program data, program files, what was it? Nope, it's program data. Core backup, scripts, and we edit this. Actually, didn't we have it in the IDE? Yeah, sorry. You can see right here, system health check, CPU usage. So it's actually grabbing the CPU usage. Okay. What type of attack was being used to escalate the privileges? So this they actually talked about. It's code injection. They talk about it up here. This is where you find it. It is script modification for code injection. Add a user to the admin group. So they're using code injection. They're injecting their code into a scheduled task, and the code is simply, hey, I'm gonna make John an admin now, right? This is a common way to escalate your privileges. You could do a million things here. That's the biggest key takeaway here is don't get hung up on the local admin thing. You could do a reverse shell. You could just open a new shell. You could do all kinds of stuff. You could literally make a new user. You could do all kinds of stuff because you are running as administrator. So when you're running that script, so you can add any code you want, right? You could just do the rest of your Pentest, wait every 2 minutes and run new commands. You can do all kinds of stuff. I mean, you can get creative. Okay, so now having successfully escalated our privileges, we can run WinPEAS again, which will provide more detailed information. They say alternatively use the WinPill script. This is where people in the last video said they had issues running this WinPill script. I had a ton of issues running the LinPill script on the first box, so I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to actually try to, I don't see, I'm going to try and do it with just the WinPEAS, and we'll see if that gets done and how long it takes. All right, checking service registry permissions, that's fine. And we'll see if we can get it through it without doing that, right? Okay, so now you can see there's going to be 20 interesting files that WinPEAS, excuse me, but in this case, their WinPill script will show you. And one of them is under documents. There is a customer database CSV file, and that is actually under C users administrator customer CSV, right? Well, the nice thing is we know where it's at, so we can actually go to C users administrator, because we are an administrator. All right, let's see. We know his password. It's crap, what is it? Super secret password or something. Let's go back to system enumeration. Where was it? Okay, was it this one? I just can't remember his password off the top of my head. There it is, super secure pass. All right, I hate this thing. All right, and we just say, okay, can't click anything, so super secure pass 123 should be good. All right, and we opened up the administrator folder. And you can see this this machine is on its last legs here. It's hanging on by a thread. I'm doing a lot of stuff to it. And you can see, we'll go back up here to go to the last piece here for the Windows. All right. Okay, we got it open. Okay, and we were looking for administrator, customer database right there. And the reason we're going to open it is because I think one of the questions is something about what is the customer ID of Nicholas Taylor? So it doesn't really matter. We'll just use Notepad to make it easy. The reason I say it's easy is because we didn't have to wait for anything. Nicholas Taylor, so we'll just say Control F, not Shift F, Control F, Nicholas. We'll just look for Nicholas for now. Nicholas, okay, that's Nicholas Williams. Nicholas Taylor, and what were they asking about him? Customer ID. Now, I don't know if the ID is before or after. I would assume before, right? Let's see. It's tough to tell. We'll put this in and see if it works. Nope, incorrect. Okay. Well, Nicholas Taylor's right here. Nicholas Taylor, there's his email. Okay, so here's probably his customer ID. Right here. It could be this one, or it could be the... Alright, that's not right either. Okay. Well, let's see. This one is... It's hard because I didn't open it. I should have just opened it like normal people in a CSV format. Let's go ahead and wrap around. Unless there's another Nicholas Taylor, but I don't think so. Okay. Actually, let's just go to the top real quick and see how this is formatted. All right. Customer ID, first name, last name. Okay, so customer ID is first. There you go. Customer ID, first name, last name. So it should be this whole thing. This should be the customer ID. But that's what I put in. It didn't have it. Oh, there's a space there. That must be why. Okay, so there was a space there. I didn't see the space on the 6.5. Okay, what is the path of the admin share? Okay, so if we go cancel that, close this, don't save. Okay, and we just go to view, hidden file. Okay, hidden items is already viewed. Okay, and we're looking to see the path for admin share. Let's see. This is actually one that I'm trying to avoid doing, but I can just do this. What is the path of the admin share? I don't think this is still going, and I'm not going to wait. So let's see if it's in here. If it's not, we will go. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Doesn't look like it's done, which is fine. That's just going to take forever. So what we'll do is we'll say default path for admin share because they are the same thing. C, Windows, there you go. And I thought that, but I didn't want to guess. I wanted to find out. So there you go. Which Wireshark version is installed on the Windows target? Let's find out. And you can see that it's actually like all this isn't the best way to do this because there's nothing in there. Okay. Let's see, where is Wireshark? The reason I say it's not the best way is because I checked desktop, it didn't say anything, but okay. I'm saying a whole lot without saying anything. But I'm actually doing the opposite is what that joke was about. But basically what I'm saying is that if I just let WinPEAS run, I could just wait. But I want to show you guys that there's other ways to do it. I'm an impatient person. I don't want to wait around. Okay, so let's just open it and see if it actually has it without us having to do it. which version is it? Okay. And then how many firewall rules? So 4.2.5, 4.2.5. There's the Wireshark version. And this is, by the way, not the best way to do this, but if you have RDP and you can't get tools on a machine, go back to the old school. Be manual about it, right? Okay, and then now we'll just do a quick Google search and say, I actually don't even think I need to do this, but check Windows firewall rules. I think you can just go here. Whoops, go here and just go firewall. Okay, well. Okay, is it on or off? Advanced settings. Oh my god. Super secure pass 123. Super secure pass 123. Just gotta actually know how to type it. There we go. Okay, rules none. Okay, there's. What did it ask us? How many firewall rules are enabled? Okay. Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I could probably just filter it. That'd make more sense, wouldn't it? Okay. And then I really don't want to count all those. Let's see if we can. I could export it and get a list, but I don't really want to do that. Let's see if we export it, if it'll give it to me in a. Okay, I typed and it did nothing. All right, outbound rules. All right. And this is one of the ones that sucks because this is the one of the ones that would like be automated, but I'm not going to wait around for it. We'll export test 2. All right. Then we'll go back to desktop. We'll say test and see if okay, so does this say, oh, so it didn't filter it here though. Notice that it did not filter. That sucks. Okay, let's just see if WinPEAS is running because I do not want to come on. Yeah, I figured that out, but how many firewall rules are enabled? Well, let's see if it gave us anything here so I don't have to wait for WinPEAS to finish. All right, well, I don't really want to wait around either, but the other thing that's weird is it's asking us how many firewall rules are enabled, but problem is there's a shitload, right? So it's just gonna, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 28. Okay, so 28 fit on that line. So then there's going to be 28, 30. So that's 28, 58, 58, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 1, 2, 3. So 103 outbound. There should be 30 here. So 30. Whoa. 30. Okay. 60. 90. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 100. So 203 is what I counted. I could be way off, but let's see. Nope. I'd be curious if I can guess this or not. I'm either way off or I'm just really trying to avoid waiting for WinPEAS because that means I have to sit here for the next God knows how long and then get back to you guys. 210. 199. There you go. 198 is your answer. I was close. I guess like 204 or whatever. So I was close. I just didn't want to wait for it. I apologize that that took you guys so long and you had to watch that, but that's a manual way of doing it. If you guys are wondering how I counted, which obviously wasn't perfect and I knew it wasn't going to be, is I just counted one single pane and said, okay, that was 30. So then every time I scrolled through, it was 30. So I just overcounted some, which is fine. So 198, there's your answer. Again, is that the best way to do it? Absolutely not. I could have exported it and actually just opened it as a CSV, seen the lines, and done it that way. There's a million ways to do it. I did it the painful way, but it wasn't very slow. I mean, I did it in a matter of a couple minutes. If I needed the actual answer, I would have done it differently. Meaning, like if I was doing a pen test, I would have verified it. I wouldn't have guessed. I wouldn't just be like on a pen test report, like maybe it's 205, maybe it's 103. Like I would make sure I have it right. So that's it, guys. Hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully you guys learned something. And then the next video, we're going to do concluding, post engagement, and be done with the pen test in a nutshell. Hopefully this helps you guys, and hope you guys have a great day. Thank you guys. Have a good one.